to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my next guest served in the communications department for the 45th President of the United States. Prior to that, she was working in the Department of Defense, and she is now with the America First Policy Institute, which, as I have said many times on my radio show, is becoming increasingly maybe the most important think tank in the country when it comes to supporting America First policies. Odd that it would be named the America First Policy Institute. Anyway, that's a different discussion altogether. Please put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome Hilton Beckham. Hello, lady. How are you?
I'm great, Kevin. How about you?
Welcome to the weekend. We always like to have a little bit of fun. You were really a kid when you were working for 45, the first go around. Is he going to be back in the White House in 24, you think?
I'm really hoping we need him back in office.
I want to talk about that just for a second, because he has said, and I heard other people say it, even as he was saying it, and I thought it before I heard him say it. But if he had been in the White House, I don't think either Ukraine nor Hamas would have happened. And I'm just curious your thoughts on how much damage can be done before he returns.
I mean, apparently there's no bounds, clearly. Like it amazes me how far we can go and how the left just seems to not really care when we have, people. What is it now? I think it's over 8 million people that have come into our country illegally. And that the Border Patrol has encountered at the border. It's honestly unbelievable. And also, too, I really think, and just kind of focusing on the border for a second, I don't think that the Biden administration would have started, being a little bit more forthcoming about the border if we didn't have these far too left cities, Chicago and New York City, starting to sound the alarm about all the illegals that have overtaken their communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I hope this is a real wake-up call now that the far left and their biggest cities are starting to cry out for help. But I just can't tell with the Biden administration. It seems like they turn their head whenever there's a real issue going on.
We're going to come back to the border in just a second, because I think you're right. And I think that there are probably only 2, maybe 3 issues that this entire election should turn on. Mm-hmm. And certainly that is one of them. Let's get to know Hilton Beckham just a little bit. You work in communications now. Did you see yourself when you were a little girl doing what you do today?
Oh my God, no. I have really no idea where my path was going when I was younger, but if there is like a foretelling, I was actually homeschooled growing up, and my mom, I grew up in Southern California.
That's odd. You don't have a third eye or a horn
sticking out
of your head
or
anything.
My God. Right. Oh my gosh. The amount of times when people say when I tell people I'm homeschooled, they're like, they tilt their head because they don't realize that homeschoolers can be normal.
And she's not wearing a full coverage dress, right? Because she has leprosy or anything. Like she's really honestly telling you the truth. She's a normal human
person.
Being. That's right.
Yes, thank you. But yeah, so I was fortunate enough to be raised with mom and dad in a very conservative Christian household, and they did not allow, first of all, didn't really have TV, but they did not allow TV to be on unless it was the news. So I grew up watching pretty much Fox News all the time. And I remember when I ended up doing a kind of a fast track college online, and then I wanted to go to grad school, and I was like, I just couldn't get I loved world news. I loved what was going on. I loved cultural issues. And so I decided, I was like, you know what, why not go into a journalism degree? And that's what I did. And my capstone project happened to be in Washington, D.C. during the 2016 elections. And I fell in love with the city. I fell in love with how Trump was fighting the battle and how he just turned DC on top of its head. And he made me interested in politics. So yeah, that's how I ended up in DC. Didn't think that when I bought my one-way ticket here for an internship at the White House, that was my first experience with the White House, that I would, plant roots here, but I did. And I've been here for about 6 or 7 years now.
That's really interesting. Well, we're glad that you're doing what you're doing. AFPI immediately came into kind of formation upon Trump's exit from office.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the people that you guys have participating with the Institute deal not just directly with the topics that they're assigned to, but very in depth and have lots of experience. You've got a lot of former military brass that serve on the foreign policy and national security team. You've got people that know the economy inside out that are talking about the economic issues of the day. And they do it from a uniquely America First perspective. I wonder if you could just tell us, for my listeners that haven't known that much about AFPI, why it's so important for you guys to be there.
Well, it's important for us to be here because, I mean, if most people don't know, DC in general is just very far left. And it's very easy to come to DC and congressional members, anybody, people who are leading the country, and you kind of fall into the swampiness, the thing that Trump was trying to, drain. And we're here because we came here, first of all, a lot of us came here and worked during the Trump administration. We're former Trump officials. And we saw what worked. We saw the policies that worked. We saw what made the economy go up. We saw what secured our border. We saw, what was good for our education systems, what were good for parents. And so when we, left in 2020, of course, the Biden administration has taken over and pretty much just undone everything that the Trump administration did. And a lot of it probably simply because it just had Trump's name attached to it, even if it's something that worked,
Well, we know that was exactly the policy for the Afghanistan withdrawal, because the generals were left with the plan that the Trump team had left them, and they recommended it to the new president and the incoming administration and said, we have put a lot of time and effort into this. We really think this is the way to do it. And the stories are that Joe Biden ripped it up and said, no, if it was Trump's plan, I don't want anything to do with it. And it didn't have any more logic or rationale attached to it than that.
Yeah, and I mean, the same with our southern border. We gave them the playbook of what would secure our border. And immediately when they came in, they put in so many different executive orders around the border, just stopping the border wall, keeping illegal immigrants from staying in Mexico instead of just coming into the U.S. and giving them a court date years out from now to show up in, and they're not going to show up to that court date. But we had so many different policies in place that made our country where it should be. It put our country first. And unfortunately, and I think this is something we will never truly understand, the far left, they just don't care about our country. They don't believe in the America First agenda. It's almost like they treat their country like a stepchild. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's ours, but whatever. Whatever the other countries want. If somebody doesn't
care about America being put first, I have to always ask the question: then who do you want to be put first?
Exactly.
Somebody will be. And if nothing more than a vacuum, who goes first in the mind of the people that serve Americans? She's Hilton Beckham. I'm Kevin McCullough. We're coming back from Times Square on this edition of That Kevin Show. Stay right here.
Ready or not, he'll be right back. That Kevin.